A former CNN anchor and current Democratic candidate reportedly evaded his taxes by claiming that his primary residence is in Manhattan while also telling voters he lives on Long Island. John Avlon has a history of missing property tax payments and has reportedly netted more than $2,000 a year in abatements by claiming his primary residence is in New York City while propping himself up as the man of the people on Long Island. This article reads, ex-CNN anchor, Dem candidate John Avlon evaded taxes, scored abatements on NYC condo while claiming a Sag Harbor residency. Now, I'm not from New York, so I'm going to try and read this like a New Yorker. It's just not easy for me because I don't truly understand the geography up there, but I'm going to try, okay? New Yorkers, don't come for me. The article says Avlon is running to represent New York's 1st congressional district, and his campaign told the New York Post that he's living in Sag Harbor, which I believe is on Long Island. So this is where he says he lives, but research from multiple news outlets, including the New York Post, show that Avlon appears to be raking in about $16,000 in tax abatements for his $3.36 million Gramercy Park co-op unit, according to the New York City Department of Finance records, despite the savings only being eligible to units designated as a primary residence. So kind of mumbo jumbo information there. Basically, what's happening here is Avlon is taking tax abatements on his co-op unit, but in order to get those abatements, you have to be living in it. It has to be your primary residence. So he has it listed as his primary residence, but he allegedly lives in Sag Harbor. The article goes on to say he and his wife, Margaret Hoover, she's the host of Firing Lines on PBS, purchased the Manhattan condo in 2015 when he was serving as editor-in-chief of the Daily Beast, but the couple wouldn't own the roughly $1.5 million Sag Harbor residence for another 2 years. So in 2017, they purchased a Sag Harbor property for about $1.5 million. But that Sag Harbor property, I believe, was rented out in the interim. So he was actually living in Manhattan, but he owned this, but now he wants the people to think that he's always lived in Sag Harbor and that the New York property isn't his, but it's so confusing, you know? So reports from the Free Beacon and Smithtown Messenger confirmed that 2017 purchase of the Southampton home and the latter outlet was the first to reveal the city records of the tax abatement to the Gramercy Park co-op. And if you're in the listening audience, you can't see this, obviously, but for our viewing audience, this is what the property looks like. So to clarify this, because it is a very confusing story, basically John Avlon claims the Manhattan property as his primary residence for tax purposes. And he likely did live in that Manhattan property as his primary residence until it became politically convenient for him to move out to his Long Island residency, which he's been renting out. And now the Long Island residency is his primary residency, but he doesn't want to change that information because he's evading taxes and netting abatements this way. And honestly, game respects game. This would be hella impressive if he wasn't running for office because, I mean, come on, how dumb can you be? Every opponent and decent reporter out there is going to be digging up dirt on you. You better be clean as a whistle or just take care of this. You have a tax guy for this? Both of you are famous news anchors. Like, get your shit together.